The honourable member for Courtenay-Alberni.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. It's an honor today to have an opportunity to express my condolences and also to, on behalf of the constituents of the people of Courtenay-Alberni, to have the opportunity to rise today in the House to pay tribute to Her late Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. My thoughts are with the royal family for their loss as a mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother, and millions others throughout the Commonwealth and beyond who have relied on the Queen for comfort in times of uncertainty. May she rest in peace. I want to, Madam Speaker, just elaborate a little bit about, first, actually, I want to express my disappointment and, of course, appreciation for the many people in my community that are setting up service for the Queen, the late Queen Elizabeth II, on Monday, that I can't join them because I will be attending the national commemoration of the Queen Elizabeth II here in Ottawa. And I want to thank the organizers of the many events in our riding, especially the legions in our riding. We know the Queen, you know, back when she was crowned in 1952, it was a different world. You know, she just took it on the assumption as head of state at a time that was just after the World War, Madam Speaker, World War II. And her role in World War II gave her a lot of experience, certainly understanding the need for dedication, commitment, empathy, strength. And our country was very different, Madam Speaker, at that time. We're blessed with the visits of the Queen many times, and I'm going to speak a bit about that, Madam Speaker, and focus my attention on that because we've heard the many accolades of the many roles, service roles that the Queen played, not just here in Canada, but throughout the Commonwealth, and just a huge tribute to the Queen and her dedication and service to her role. But I want to talk about her visits to Vancouver Island, and there's been many stories written in my local community since the passing of the late Queen Elizabeth II last week. Stories are pouring in from throughout my riding, and Erin Halschuk, a local reporter in the Comox Valley Record, did a story, and she outlined and talked about the visits of the Queen to Courtenay back in 1971, and she made a stop at Lewis Park, a really important visit in our community, and she again visited the area in 1994 when she was opening the Commonwealth Games in Victoria, which all of us remember was just a huge honor for Canada to host, but certainly for British Columbia and for Vancouver Island. It was just incredible, a memory for all of us that we'll never forget. But I also want to express thanks to Susie Quinn, a local reporter for the Alberni Valley News, and she wrote a wonderful story in the Alberni Valley News about the visit of Princess Elizabeth and Princess Philip to our community more than 70 years ago, Madam Speaker, a little more than 3 months before she became our Queen. And I want to thank her also to the outlining and talking about the Alberni Valley Museum. They've got this wonderful photo, Madam Speaker, that many of us have known that showed their visit. And it was just, you know, a really great reminder of their visit that accompanied her story as well. And we're proud that she chose to come to our community on her very first visit to Canada. And most of us have known no other sovereign, including myself, Madam Speaker. She was a constant presence in our lives, and I join you and many others in offering our heartfelt condolences to the members of her family, and in our prayers she will certainly be there. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the moments and some of the stories that people have shared. I'm going to, from that story from Susie Quinn, quote, she writes, Princess Elizabeth ascended the throne a few months later after her visit. On February 6, 1952, after her father, King George VI, died. She was formally crowned Queen Elizabeth II on June 2, 1953. And at the time of their visit, the Alberni Valley was a thriving forestry town. It was a big deal for the Vancouver Island City to be included on a tour that featured appearances in places like Toronto, where hundreds of thousands of people lined the streets to greet the royal couple. Port Alberni resident Bob Cole, and Bob Cole's a famous fisher in our community. He's been around for a long time. He said he was only 5 years old when Prince Elizabeth and Prince Philip visited our city back in 1951. And at the time, his parents, Arnold and May Cole, owned Klitza Lodge at Sprout Lake. And the lodge was known for its elite clientele, especially American business magnates and Hollywood stars. And Klitza couldn't accommodate her entourage, but she and Prince Philip came out to tea at the lodge, served by my mother and father and staff at the lodge, he recalled. And the Queen's entourage numbered 60 people, and the lodge could only accommodate 46. So the group stayed at Eagle Crest near Qualicum Beach. They came for tea, they stopped and had photographs taken at Sprout Falls. Patty Archer said her mother was 13 years old and used to tell the story of standing along the parade route. She always remembered the thrill of the royal couple coming to the rather remote Alberni Valley. She was just a staunch fan of the Queen her whole life after that visit. And Joyce Evans remembers watching the then princess as the royal couple drove through Alberni on Johnson Road. She went there with many teachers from Alberni Elementary School, she said. Her mom, who passed away in March, remembers this day, right till her death. And she was a teenager watching in fond memory. Anne Carney, she stated, it's very sad. I mean, she did a wonderful job at 96. And Anne works at Churchill's British Imports in Parksville. She said a lot of people had been in there and are sad about the passing of the Queen. And she cited what a wonderful woman she was and how hardworking she was. Lorraine Bell, the Qualicum Beach Museum manager, stated in a release, Qualicum Beach has been visited by the royal family and served as a place of rest and relaxation several times over the years. And in 1951, then Prince Elizabeth, before her coronation, her and Prince Philip paid an informal visit to Eagle Crest Lodge back when the population of Qualicum Beach was just 760 people. And I'm going to just take a quote from I saw on social media from the PQB News social media page from Linda Thomas. She writes, I think the Queen did very well at her job. She was steadfast, kind, dedicated, and never veered far from doing her duty. She served during the war. She knew what war was. I haven't known any other monarch. May she rest in peace. Very kind words. My late great-grandmother, Winifred Denholm, and my late grandma, Joan Pearsall, were huge royal followers, Madam Speaker, and she was certainly, the Queen was a role model to them. And I reached out to my mom to check in with my mom, Judy, to see how she was feeling about things. And she wrote me a message. She said, quote, the Queen will be truly missed beyond any words I could ever express. Every time I saw her, she reminded me of grandmother, so full of faith, grace, and love. She was an example to us all. At the end of the day, it's never about the positions we hold, but rather about the gift of love and kindness we share with one another. She will be missed, end quote from my mom. And so my own experience, I was a young guy and, certainly brought up with the royal following. I got dragged, if you want to call it, to Victoria to see the Queen downtown when she was visiting in 1983. And I got to say, I'll never forget the wave, the warmth of the wave of the Queen. It was very kind and loving, and certainly very much appreciate her gentle approach in her role. And I just can't say enough about her sense of humor. I mean, the fact that she stood with Paddington Bear and did the whole charade at 96 years old just was a great demonstration of the fun person she would. And I would have brought a marmalade sandwich, Madam Speaker, but I'm not allowed props in here. So I avoided that. But again, I think that it was just a fun way that she really did enjoy her life. But also, the death of the Queen does highlight the important work of the monarchy to address past injustices. Many peoples around the world have had a troubled history with the British Crown, and including colonialism, slavery, the treatment of Indigenous peoples here in Canada. And King Charles III, he has this opportunity, Madam Speaker, for the first time in his life to move the monarchy forward in a way that he never has been able to. And that's acceptable to today's generation. So we know in his most recent trip to Canada, he cited that he had met with survivors of residential schools who demonstrated courage, shared their experiences, and he acknowledged their suffering. And he said how much his heart went out to them and their families. But he asked to go further, Madam Speaker, and I hope that he'll take that sincerely in his new role and listen to Indigenous elders, Indigenous leaders, support the 94 calls to action. And Madam Speaker, again, I just want to say, Queen Elizabeth II, she wore her role well with duty, service, and devotion, and I'll truly treasure her memory to our country, and may she rest in peace.